Welcome back to Arise Africa with me, Katira King.
And I, Adesoa Omoran. Well, let's now shift focus to the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. In spite of the large sums allocated to the region through the interventionist bodies such as the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, poverty, unemployment and massive underdevelopment are rife in the region. Analysts say the political elite should be held responsible for the poor state of the Niger Delta. Well, joining us now for a discussion on this, as well as the state of the nation, is a former senator who is from the Niger Delta region. He is Senator Magnus Abe. Glad that you could join us at this time. Thank you so much. Welcome to Arise Africa.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you here.
Great. Well, when it comes to the Niger Delta, the NDDC has been in the news lately, and not for the good reasons. It's a potpourri of managerial, developmental, and accountability issues. I mean, from the report of a forensic audit of its finances to the controversy as regards the inauguration of its board. Do we have the priorities for the development of the Niger Delta region right?
Sorry, you're breaking off.
Okay, Senator Magnus Abe, I was just asking you, with the potpourri of challenges bedeviling the NDDC, especially now that it's been in the news and not for good reasons, I was asking you if we have the priorities of the development of the regions right.
Well, first, I would like to disagree with you on one major issue. When you say the Niger Delta Development Commission has been in the news for the wrong reasons, I would disagree with that. I think the commission has been in the news for what I would consider the right reasons. First of all, the president, when he met with the governors of the Niger Delta, said clearly that he was ordering a forensic audit of the finances of the commission to see why, you know, over the years, the developmental strides that the NDDC was supposed to represent to the Niger Delta has not been achieved. I think that is positive news for all of us in the Niger Delta. And the rest of the issues arising out of that declaration by the president and the decision to begin a forensic audit of the NDDC is good news to us here in the Niger Delta as far as we are concerned. So I think that a lot of what you may not see as positive is very positive, because we believe that these issues, canvassed in the open, brought out and properly analyzed and corrected, at the end of the day would achieve positive results for the entire Niger Delta region.
Now, Senator, what would you say has been the reason for the poor relationship between the Niger Delta leaders and its people?
You say poor relationship between the Niger Delta leaders and the people?
Exactly.
I don't think that the situation in the Niger Delta between the leaders and the people is much different from the situation in other parts of the country. And it depends on which particular individual that you're talking about. Leadership everywhere is in two categories. There are people who are leaders because they hold certain positions in government or in the society. And there's those who are leaders because they are respected, acknowledged, and accepted by their community. I think that to lump every kind of leadership together and say that there's a poor relationship between Niger Delta leaders, quote and unquote, and their people is not, in my opinion, totally accurate. What I will say rather is that there's a disconnect between some of the government agencies and the expectations of the Niger Delta people, such as has been with the NDDC. And this is what the president is seeking to correct at this time. And I think that what we need to do as leaders and stakeholders in the region is for us to rally around this opportunity to redirect the NDDC to be able to achieve its core mandate, or to compel it to focus on its core mandate and reduce the level of interference in the affairs of the commission that has made it difficult, if not impossible, for the NDDC to meet the expectations of the people.
Well, indeed. Well, it has been established that the amount of money spent on the region and in the commission does not translate to development that we ought to be seeing in that region, the oil-rich region of Nigeria. As someone from that region, how best do you think that the Niger Delta could be well developed? Or be better developed?
Well, first of all, I want to disagree. I want to disagree with what you have said.
You think that the monies that commiserate to the development, isn't that why the interim management committee was set up to audit?
Just hear me out. I want to disagree with what you have said. First of all, corruption is not a Niger Delta issue. It is a Nigerian issue. And we're talking about Nigerian agencies and Nigerian resources. If you're talking about commensurate development vis-a-vis the amount of resources that are deployed, the situation in the Niger Delta is no different from the situation in any other part of the country. For example, if we talk about the investment that has been made in power in this country, for example, is it commensurate with the power that we are seeing in Nigeria? If we talk about the investment in roads, is it commensurate with the quality of the road infrastructure that we have in the country? So the problem of corruption is a Nigerian issue. I think what is going on now is an attempt to address it in one of the key agencies of government that is charged with development in the Niger Delta. That does not therefore mean that corruption is entirely a Niger Delta problem. No, it is a Nigerian problem, and we need to place it in that context. Because when people begin to say things like, and sound as if it is only in the Niger Delta that Nigerian money is not being properly accounted for, it gives me the impression that the reason some people may be spinning it in that direction is to say that the agitation of the people of the Niger Delta for more resources and more support from the government and the people of Nigeria is misplaced because the ones they have not been well utilized. If we're going to have that conversation, we must have that conversation about the entire resources of Nigeria. We cannot single out the Niger Delta for that particular conversation. But if we're having a conversation about how we can make the NDDC work better for the Nigerian people, that conversation will not be any more different, for example, from if we want to discuss how we can make NOA work better for the Nigerian people, or if we want to discuss how we can make the Federal Ministry of Health and the health institutions in this country work better for the Nigerian people. That's how I understand and contextualize this discussion. So yes, we're having a discussion. We're having a focus now on how we can make the NDDC work better for the Niger Delta people, and by extension, the Nigerian people, and achieve its core mandate. That conversation is welcome, it is healthy, it is helpful, and we want to express our sincere appreciation to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for bringing this issue to the front burner of national discourse. And we are glad to participate in it because we believe that at the end of the day, the end result will be a better run commission that will deliver more to the people of the region.
Senator, whilst I agree with you that corruption is a Nigeria-wide issue, we should be comparing ourselves to the best of the best and not the worst of the worst. But to what extent would you say that the foreign powers have intervened or caused the bitterness in the Niger Delta?
I beg your pardon. Sorry, I didn't get that correctly.
To what extent would you say that foreign powers have caused the bitterness in the Niger Delta?
To what extent would I say the...
Foreign intervention.
Foreign intervention.
That's correct.
Yes. What I want to say is that like I was explaining to some people recently, you see, the issues of the Niger Delta have been allowed to escalate over time to a point where things in the Niger Delta, when they happen to a degree that is not normal in other parts of the country. For example, we're talking about elections and violence in the Niger Delta. If you have a fight in a state where people fight with sticks and with machetes, you have a different kind of fight than when you come to the Niger Delta, where people have accumulated weapons, AK-47s, GPMGs, over time because of the unrest and the issues in the area. When you have a fight with AK-47s and GPMGs, you're going to have a different kind of warfare than the one you're having with sticks and machetes. But essentially what it is still a fight. It's the same conditions that bring about the disagreement and the violence with sticks and the machetes that bring about the disagreement and the violence with AK-47s and GPMGs. The only difference is that in the Niger Delta, you have bigger guns and therefore more damage than in other parts of the country. So when it comes to this same issue of corruption, the same principle arises because of the volume of money involved in the challenges in the Niger Delta. When you have issues of corruption, it tends to be, would I put it, aggravated by the volume of resources that are involved. But this is no different from the same kind of corruption that is going on in other parts of the country. So what I would say is that, yes, there is focus on the Niger Delta at this point because of the peculiar challenges of the region. And we want to welcome this searchlight. We want to welcome this spotlight. We want to even ask for more of it because we believe that at the end of the day, introspection and, a revision of how we have conducted ourselves in a particular circumstances to give the negative results that we have can only be good for us if it will help us to change how we do things and do things better. Having said that, let me add here that what everybody must realize is that the state of Nigeria is the sum total of the actions and inactions of all Nigerians. And if you apply that same principle to the Niger Delta, the state of the Niger Delta is the sum total of the actions and inactions of all of us that are stakeholders in the Niger Delta region. It would be, in my opinion, sheer escapism to blame everything happening in the region just on, quote and unquote, the leaders. I believe that, yes, the leaders, we have our share of the responsibility, but the people of the region also have their own share of a responsibility.
Oh, that's a good place to leave it, Senator Magnus Abe. Thank you very much for your thoughts on the issue of the Niger Delta Development Commission and the region as a whole.